Hi, friends. Welcome to Getting Your Real Estate Life Together. I'm Tracy Hicks with All Things Real Estate. And today I'm really excited because I have Michelle Berman. Thank you for being here, Michelle. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and your company.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be on. And my first name is Michelle, last name is Berman for now, getting married in July. So super excited to change that one. But the name of my company is Berman Media PD. And I'm also the creator of the online course, the Instagram Power Method.
Yes. And we're definitely going to talk about that. So normally we talk to real estate agents and talk to them about social media. But today we are flipping the script and we're going to talk to you about social media to real estate agents. And it was funny, Nona and I were like, we should call it Getting Your Social Media Life Together instead of Getting Your Real Estate Life Together. But it goes hand in hand. And I know a lot of agents, they either struggle with it or they're really good at it. So there's definitely that spectrum of agents that are out there. And lucky for us, you as well work with people all across the country and beyond. So it's really great that we both have that same audience and clientele. And so we're able to speak to them, whether I'm in Oregon, you're in Arizona, but somebody might be in New York. And obviously we're all dealing with different situations right now with COVID, but at the same time, it's the same thing because in real estate, our market might be doing really well in Oregon, but in Arizona, you guys might be, a little slow, or in New York, they might be doing really great with selling listings and all that. So I think that agents are handling things really well right now because of that. They're like, we got this. We do this on a daily basis. So I really want to focus in on Instagram. Obviously, that's your forte. And then also too, obviously you're going to give some really great advice for agents doing, their Instagram, but I also want to talk about what you're doing in your business as well.
Yeah.
Your marketing and what you guys do. But I think one of your favorite things is converting leads on Instagram, and really want to let you just kind of go into what that looks like and say, I'm not on Instagram and I'm just getting started. Where do you tell somebody to start?
Yeah. So I love that question because it's a question that I think a lot of people are afraid to ask.
Yes.
Right? Kind of in this mind frame where they know they need to be on the platform. They don't know how to start at all. They understand the value, but for them, they just get stopped dead in their tracks when it comes to, I don't even know how to set up, or where do I start? What do I post? What don't I post? How much is too much business? How much is too much personal? And then they just get to this place where they just feel paralyzed. So they don't even do anything, right? And I think everybody is guilty of that, regardless of whether you're me and you've been doing it for a really long time, or whether you're somebody who's never done it and you're learning from day one. Yeah. So somebody that comes to me and says, Michelle, I know I need to be on Instagram. What's ground zero? Because I'm old and I don't know anything about Instagram. I love that one. I get it all the time.
And by the way, old in real estate, that's like average age. The average age of a real estate agent, my friend Shelly Zavitz just told me, it's 57.
Yeah.
So there is no such thing as old in real estate, y'all.
No, absolutely not at all. So I love that question, right?
They say it all the time.
I don't have anything to say. I only use Instagram so I can spy on my grandkids.
Yep.
Well, you can use Instagram for a lot of things. But when people come to me, the very first thing I say to them is, before you ever post on Instagram, before you ever try to use all of these softwares that teach you how to make pretty templates, or, I spend $20 a month on this social media program that allows me to just copy templates that are in a gallery and I just post those, right? Before you do any of that, none of that matters if you don't actually understand who are you as a real estate agent. Who are you? So I laughingly say, if I meet you at a party and I've never met you, I have no idea that you're a real estate agent. We come up to each other and we say, oh, what do you do for a living? And your response to me is, I'm a real estate agent. My response to you is going to be, cool, I know about 1,000 of them. What kind of real estate agent?
Yep.
So the conversation has to start with, who are you? What's your it factor? What kind of agent are you? So I have a really good friend who's a veteran realtor and he only works with veterans. That's it. So he says to himself, or he says to other people when he's marketing it, I'm a veteran myself. I'm a Navy veteran. I've served for 15 years. And I specialize in working with other veterans who are getting out of the military, who want to actually understand what their VA benefits are and how to use them. Right. Yep. So if you have a conversation with me and you say that, well, first of all, I'm marrying a veteran. So that's kind of cool. You just gauged my interest heavily there. Right. And second of all, you just told me specifically, one, I like you because you helped me serve or you helped serve our country. Two, you've given me so much information and insight onto specifically like why I would hire you. And thirdly, I just feel like I want to ask more questions now. Like I'm curious. Whereas if you just said, oh, I'm a real estate agent. Okay, I'm going to go get myself a drink from the bar. I'll see you later. Like, you know what I mean? Yep. Moving on.
I love that. You're right. We're constantly telling people to be yourself. And I think the real estate industry for a really long time, branding and all of that stuff was, is all new to this industry. And so I think now that the floodgates have opened up and everybody can brand themselves, it's really important to narrow that down. You just got to be you. And just like you said, what do you love? And what is it that how do you connect with people? And so you never know what's going to connect. And so I love that introducing yourself and kind of that elevator pitch. You know who you are and authentically, just do that. I think people mess up when they try to do something that they're not, then it gets too overwhelming. And then that's where the paralysis comes in. It's too hard to be somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, for real.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And also too, I, as a realtor, I was a realtor for 16 years. If I felt like somebody was a better fit with somebody else, like even a veteran or something like that, somebody who works with VA loans, I would refer that out because I'm probably not the best fit for them, but I still want to help and obviously commission and all that. But I think that knowing what your niche is and being really good at that is really important. So let's talk about that a little more and jump into Instagram. So what is your main advice for time's sake on your Instagram platform? How can you show that off? How can you show your personality on Instagram?
The whole funnel, like the way I teach this, the way that the Instagram Power Method works, the method to the madness behind the why, if you will, was that people get paralyzed, as we've said now. They don't know what to post, right? They're just sitting there thinking like, well, I'm not sure what I should be posting, what I shouldn't be posting. A really good friend of mine, Chelsea Pikes, wrote a book called What to Post because it's just such a huge problem. Right. But the thing I love about the Instagram Power Method and the way that I've framed this out for agents is, okay, so you have to figure out a niche. You have to identify who are you. Then the next step is who do you serve, right? So who are you as an agent? If you can get to that place, you now can identify, I call it like our top three or our top three of who are your three ideal clients. Who are they? Ask yourself that. So if you're a veteran agent or say you specialize in working with first-time home buyers, right? What kind of first-time home buyers? Pick three types of first-time home buyers because there's so many. And I mean, I've met a couple who was in their 60s and buying their first home. And then, of course, you have your newly married couples buying their first home. You have your single moms who are trying to get out of renting and they want to buy a condo or whatever. There's so many different types of first-time home buyers. So I hate when people say, my niche is first-time home buyers. It's not, right?
Right.
It's too vague. So once you've identified your top three, then the next step is of your top three, what are their pain points? What are their issues? What are their struggles? When they call you, I mean, Tracy, as an agent for a long time, when they call you and they say, I really need this, I'm really looking for this, then they're telling you their pain points right over the phone. Right. So your job as the agent is to really understand what your target audience is lacking, what they really need, and what their struggles are. I call it a value series. That's the way that I coach it and teach it. But the value series is once a month, you get to pick a topic and you break that topic into 5 bullet points. And that topic is directly associated to a pain point that one of your top 3 has. So the problem of, I don't know what to be posting, you just solved it. You need to be posting listings. Everybody as an agent needs to be posting those. You certainly need to be posting testimonials. That's a no-brainer. Third one is the value series, right? So value series allows you to pick a pain point, leverage it, become the expert in whatever that pain point is, so that someone's reading it and consuming your content. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, this person has solved the problem. I didn't even know I had that problem, but she just made it really relevant to me. And then the rest of the content for the month, so out of the other 15 days of the 30 days, it's just photos from your camera roll. It's just you being you and building relationships with people and creating connection. So the structure of it is really designed to help them go from niche target audience to now I have a value series, and then all the rest of my content is just solving pain points. That's it.
Right. I love that. The solving the pain points is always, that should always be top of mind when you're doing anything. And I say all the time, like, what is your intention? What is the intention of putting this stuff out? Why are you putting out what you're putting out? Once you realize that, everything else kind of just falls into place. And so the other $100,000 question is, how often should I post, Michelle?
So everyone kind of has a slightly different opinion. I think when it comes to this, I think some will tell you less is better, more is better. I think some will tell you focus on value over quantity. And I think that there's a really good mix of the two. And I think that that's what our goal should be. I think our goal should be to get to the place where we're posting every single day for the 30 days of the month. However, based off the content calendar and the way that I would coach somebody through that is, if you have a 30-day content calendar, let's say you use Excel like me, then, or you would cycle it out where every other day you're posting a lifestyle image. So it's just a picture of you doing you. It's your dog. It's you on date night. It's you with your family having a water gun fight in the backyard. It's just you doing you. And then the other 15 posts of the month are, again, the value series, testimonial, and listings. So it kind of becomes an alternated cycle. But the benefit to that is a lot of that can be pre-planned out, right? So testimonials are already on Zillow. You already have testimonials on Facebook. You already have all of these access to all of those. Listings, of course, are going to come and go. However, even though you may not have a listing, maybe you have an open house that you can market. Maybe you have a just sold that just went under or something that just went under contract. And then a week later it's sold. I don't know. So being able to showcase that, the way I coach it is 30 days. So you build a 30-day content calendar, and each one of those days is pre-planned with the ability for lifestyle imaging to be as soon as it happens. Like, oh, I just go to a cute coffee shop and my coffee art was really cute. I'm going to post that.
Yep. Yeah. So, I love that. And then also too, what you're doing is you're promoting your community, but you're also promoting community. And you never know, somebody might be like, oh, that's my favorite coffee shop too. Yeah. And, hey, let's meet up for coffee one time or whatever. But also I want to go back to the just sold and that kind of stuff. One thing that I'm really passionate about is exactly what you just said about the education piece. And that could be really fun in Instagram. And one of the things that I think we all as realtors have a responsibility is to let the public know what it is that you do. A realtor's job is really hard, and people don't understand that. And I say this all the time too, but they think that they just go out, look at cute houses and take home big checks. And we know that there's so much more than that. We're in a pandemic right now. And I think realtors know how to handle that because they handle that stuff on a daily basis. So with the just solds and the just listed, I think that it's really important to tell the story. I'm sure that there was something that happened. Maybe there was a barrier that you broke through. Maybe there was sewer line break and how you guys fix that. Obviously, you want to talk to your clients and make sure that they're comfortable. You don't have to use their names and all that good stuff, but being aware of privacy. But at the same time, your clients might be like, yeah, you can use my name and my picture and all that stuff. So find that out first, but also talk about the situation and tell the story. You probably have, and that's the other thing with realtors is they don't think they have content and they don't know what to post.
Yeah.
They probably have 10 stories in one situation easily. So I think a really great idea is for them to kind of journal it out and just write down all the situations that happen within a transaction. And there's your content. You could talk about that for the month here and there intermittently, just like you said, and kind of blend that in with, what's going on. But
yeah. So on just listed posts, with that, I'm going to piggyback off of this because one of the things that I always talk about is the opening sentences of content, like the first sentence on an Instagram caption. And I had a class yesterday that I taught and there was an agent on and she said this so perfectly. I wish I could just have screen recorded it and played it. But basically what she was saying and what I was coaching is that your opening sentence, the days of saying new listing with like the little house emoji, is gotta stop. Like it has to stop. Yeah. And the agent that was on my class yesterday, she said to me, she goes, it's so funny that you said that, Michelle, because every time I see another agent post that, I just don't even read the caption. I move on.
Go right past it.
So then why are you as the agent doing it? because the first time buyer or the person that's lurking on your Instagram that might be a buyer down the road, they're moving on too.
Yep.
So one of the things that I really harp on and that I really dive into in the actual course itself is the catchy openings. You have to have a catchy opening, whether it's for a new listing, whether it's for a testimonial, whether it's for your value series content, or whether it's a picture of your dog. I mean, you have to.
Everybody's ADD anyway, and realtors are worse. So whenever you post something or say something, and especially right now with what we're dealing with, you have to really be careful on what you say, because people listen, but also you want to make sure that they understand what you're trying to say.
Articulating it so that people can actually follow you they're.
Yeah, because on social media, it's so easy to just say what you see. Yeah, and then you're like, somebody else reading that could take that completely different. And so you really got to make sure that not only are you catching their attention, but that you're articulating what it is, which I'm doing really poorly right now. But you want to make sure that people are understanding your point that you're trying to get across, especially in real estate, because it's tricky and there's so many different interpretations and all that good stuff. So you can educate in your caption easily.
I just think the content as a whole needs to stop being a wasteland, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you what, as somebody who has bought and sold several homes myself, so I understand the real estate transaction very well. And I work with real estate agents every single day. So that's my niche market, right? It's real estate. And I do work with a lot of loan officers. But one of the biggest issues for me is that content is seen as like this, I remembered to post today, so I get a pat on the back. But you look at it and it's a screenshot, or it's a flyer from your loan officer, or it's your open house checklist, or it's here's the 5 steps to winterizing your home. And it's just a screenshot of it, or it's like a screen grab, if you will, like a PDF screen grab. And you post that and you're like, yeah, I did content. Woo-hoo. But the problem is you can't read it, right? If you've ever seen those things, they're so small. The text is so small. Plus, a lot of those documents have 5, 10, 15 bullet points on it.
Right.
So when an agent comes to me and is like, I'm out of things to post, I don't know what I should be posting. And I look at their Instagram and they have all these screenshots of flyers that have 10 bullet points. And I'm like, girl, if you would have broken each one of those bullet points into its own post, you have 10 posts for the month. You got 10 out of the 30 in your back pocket ready to go.
Yes. I love that. So,
yes. Yeah.
100%. Those infographics drive me. They seem to have died down quite a bit. I'm not sad about that at all.
The other one, I hate this one. And I'm sorry for anybody that does this that's listening, but the event calendars for your city, where there's like all of the 15 things going on in your city, and they're literally so small that I can't read it at all. The way I would tell you is stop doing that, first off. But second of all, turn it into you being the city expert. I live in Phoenix. So if you're live in Chandler, or if you live in Scottsdale, or if you're trying to promote Scottsdale events coming up, instead of posting the flyer or the screen grab of it, then break each one of those pieces on the calendar down and do like an Instagram story, do like a spotlight video saying, this event's coming up. My husband and I, we go every single year. It's so fun. It's perfect for your kids. It's on Saturday. You get free beer, like whatever it is, like talking about the details. Yep. And you then become the Scottsdale or the Chandler or whatever the city is, like person, the go-to, versus you just wasted a calendar that nobody's going to read anyway.
Yeah. And break that up.
Yep.
And post it on the weeks that it's happening or whatever, do a few things at a time, and don't post a picture of the calendar, post a picture of something around the city. And just like you said, with your camera roll, I'm sure that every realtor, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, if you're a realtor, you have no less than 3,000 pictures in your camera roll.
If you're a good one, yeah.
You have 3,000, well, probably 2,800 pictures that you could post on Instagram and use that as content. It doesn't matter if you took a picture of a house last year, if it's your favorite color door or whatever, post that. People love that stuff. And engagement too. Well, let's talk about that, because that's obviously the second half of all of the content is the engagement. You don't want to just post to post. Do you have any fun recommendations in terms of how to get people engaged and what to do after that?
Yeah. So 2 big things. One of the things is I actually teach the 6 engagement hacks that I've actually just curated and developed and used myself over the last 5 years. But I will say that as of today, Berman Media has never spent $1 on advertising. I've never spent money on a Facebook ad. I've never purchased a magazine article. I've never like a, space in a magazine or a newspaper. I've never. My entire business has solely been built on crushing it in my DMs. So I actually have my biggest hack that I would give to people, and I hope that they take this to heart, is to be so active in stories, because stories is where it's at. Stop caring about the number of likes you get. Stop caring about the number of comments you get. There are ways to make sure you get good engagement there and to make sure you get comments, which are important. So I don't want anybody to think that those aren't. There are specific, ways to do call to actions that are unique that allow people to really feel like they want to engage and all kinds of stuff. But for the sake of the conversation, what I will say is that getting really good at posting stories opens the gate to having a lot of DMs show up in your inbox. And your DMs, whether you're talking about a dog, talking about coffee, talking about the dentist office that you go to, people are watching and people will listen, and it creates connection there. So the funnel that I always talk about is being able to get people from your cold status or your cold lead into a warm lead, then from warm lead into a hot lead status. And how that's done is through Instagram stories. So if you're posting stories every single day over the course of 5 to 7 days, you're going to see a good amount of what I call lurkers, people that are just always hanging out. So if you swipe up on it, you'll be able to see, oh, there's a whole bunch of, oh my gosh, that's the mom from my kid's school. You'll be able to start creating those connections. And then over the next couple of days, if you reverse engineer that and say, oh, Shelly is always responding or always seeing all my stories, so guess what? I'm going to start responding to all of her stories. And then even though it's about her kid being on the playground, or it's about, the dog going for a walk or whatever, you just show up in her stories. So there's a hack that I always teach with the close friends list, where all those people that are lurkers, turn them into close friends. They don't know that you're a close friend, right? Yep. So you're able to make sure that on the day-to-day, you're always engaging with those lurkers. Yes. So that then you can slide into their DMs maybe a week and a half later saying, hey, Shelly, I know we've chatted in the past like about, Nixon or our dog or this or whoever, but I just wanted to ask you, I'm actually going to spend the rest of my day creating content for Instagram. And I specifically want to see if there's anything that you're struggling with when it comes to buying a home. Are you scared of the market? What's your biggest fear when it comes to selling a home right now? Just so, because I want to make a video on it. Yep. And then they're going to respond to you. I call it word vomiting, but they're going to word vomit on you of all of the things that they're struggling with in that. Yep. And guess what? You just got so many ideas for content from that person. Plus, they now are going to get to follow up with you and see those videos that you post on your Instagram or that content you're posting, answering all of those questions that they had. And they're going to slide into your DMs and be like, you know what? You're the person for me. I my husband and I are ready to buy a house. Or, you know what? My daughter's getting ready to buy her first house. I think you'd be perfect for it. And that's how the magic happens.
Yep. Girl, that was some shit right there. For real. That is.
So, taken me almost 6 years to get to that, but there we go.
Hey, you didn't feel that, like, the time flies, and it does pay off. I mean, I'm so glad that you said that, because it's just different in business than it is with, how people perceive a DM. But for us, it's the same way. Like, we have thousands of customers, but we get to connect with our customers in Instagram by chatting with them and messaging them. Like, they'll message us and then they're almost shocked that we message them back. And it's usually either myself or Nona. And they're like, oh my gosh, somebody from the company actually responded, and it's not a robot or whatever. But that's how we connect with them. And that's how we get half our ideas are from our customers. They're like, hey, I need this or I need that. And we were like, oh yeah, we can do that. And then we can sell it. So we're solving pain points, we're getting content, and we're engaging with our customers. Like, it's like bonus after bonus after bonus. And there is a fine line, like, don't be weird, obviously, yes. But the way you said it is so perfect, because it's about building that connection. And then that Shelly's going to go and be like if somebody's like, I'm thinking about selling my house. Oh my gosh, I just talked to a realtor on Instagram and she's really cool. And we, she's from our area and all that good stuff. So people don't talk about DMs enough. And quite frankly, we don't either. So
yeah, I love it so much. And it's such a powerful tool for me and for my agents and the ones that are really utilizing it well. so much so that I have an entire module that's literally called It Goes Down in the DMs because of that. Like, because if people need to understand that the better you are at utilizing them, like I can't even describe to you. Like, if I can go on a tangent here just really fast, because it's so relevant. So 5 years ago when I started Berman Media, it was hilarious that I'm on this with you right now. Like, I'm having a deja vu moment, if you will, because 5 years ago when I started Berman Media, I thought to myself, if only I could get all things real estate to follow me back on Instagram, then I will have like arrived. And I thought to myself, I'm like, this is like the fairy godmother of Instagram. Like, all of their content is so relatable and so fun, and I want to be on that somehow. Like, how do I get featured on this page? You know, you're thinking that 5 years ago, and fast forward to today, and I'm sitting here talking to you, and I just can't. Like, I can't even believe that. And all of that happened because of DMs. Like, if you actually think about it, my assistant Sarah, who I love and adore to the end of the earth, reached out to you guys on Instagram and said, "Hey, I think you guys would want to talk to Michelle." With no intention of you guys texting back. We didn't know, or DMing us back, right? But we were like, you don't know unless you try. And I think it's the exact, I mean, I've done podcasts all over the country. There's lots of them on my Instagram if you guys go through my highlight. But there was that one shining moment where you're just like, you don't know unless you reach out. And I've been rejected. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure I'll be rejected in the future. I think no matter how good you are at what you do, there will always be those people who don't see that. And that's okay. And I'm not mad about it. But I think for me to be walking my own walk and doing what I teach others to do and actually living that out. I mean, I've built a multiple time over a 6-figure company from my DMs, like without any ads ever. Yeah. Like, just think about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I love that you said that about 5 years ago. We were just getting started too. And I've always said this, and I probably should stop saying it, but I'm just a realtor. Like, I didn't know how to do an e-commerce store. I didn't know how to sell on a website and sell product and all. I've never worked in retail a day in my life. I did restaurant business, but I'm also a people person. So that's easy. And I'm a realtor. So I know what realtors need and want, which is why I started this company. But the bottom line was we did us. Like, we were authentic about everything and figuring stuff out and letting our customers and our audience know that, hey, you're kind of on this journey with us. Like, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're realtors and we're entrepreneurs and we wing it. And just like you said, you take risks, asking somebody to be, a part of their marketing somehow, like exactly what you guys did. You reached out. We're in the middle of kind of translating our content and figuring out how we want our marketing to look. We did a lot of reposts for the first few years because that was the best way to A, highlight our customers, and B, show off the products out in the wild, that we like to say, and how they're being used. And other realtors love that. And realtors are always stalking other realtors, like, what are they doing and how are they doing that, which they should be. It was really natural for us. So when you reached out, we're trying to work on our blog. We're trying to work on our podcast. We're trying to work on our Instagram. We're trying to work on all these things. So we were able to figure out where the best fit was for you and I to do something together. And the podcast was great. And then so much more content's going to come out of this for the both of us. So we're able to work on both of our businesses that way. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today too, was not just talking about realtors, and you've kind of mixed that in a little bit about what you're doing with your business and obviously doing the DM thing. It's the same thing. When you talk about your business, you're telling other people how to work on their business as well. There's no more secrets in business. People used to hold their information close. They were like, nope, I can't tell you my secret because then you'll be as great as me or whatever, because I'm so great. But it's not like that anymore. Like, the more information that you can give people, the better our realtor community is going to be. It's something we're giving to the world. Everybody should be doing it. And realtors should be doing it too, all the time.
For sure. I mean, as far as like specifics, there's a lot of things that Berman Media and my team are doing. So, one, yes, we sell an online course. That's our number one priority. And for me, the why behind Berman Media has always been, how do I wake up every day and make somebody else better today? How do I help somebody else's business today? Because at the end of the day, them doing better means that I'm going to do better. and everybody at the table is going to get fed. And I was on a coaching call this morning with my students because I have a coaching membership that's part of the course too. And I was on with them and I started crying and I was like, why am I crying? Like, I just got my lashes done. Like, what's going on? But I was crying and I thought to myself, because the reason it started was two of my students who would have never met otherwise. They both live here in Arizona, but they're on totally different parts of the state, right? They never would have met had it not been for this brainchild of mine of coming up with this course. And now they're in a course together. And on the call, I watched them talk to each other and compliment each other and say from one of them to the other, I want to come to your office and pick your brain because what you're doing is so amazing. And the girl that was saying it to my other agent, Carla got her first huge Instagram lead last night that actually called her brokerage because they thought that was the number for her. Called the number and was like, I'd like to speak with Carla. And the lady on the other end of the phone was like, oh, well, this is actually the brokerage. And then the gentleman was like, no, I want to talk to Carla. I've been talking to her on Instagram. I want to talk to her. And so he then gets her number and calls her. And they chatted on the phone last night for several hours about a 1031 exchange and him buying his first multifamily property. And that's what Carla does, is sell multifamily property. And nice. Hearing this and then hearing Amy, my other agent, say, Carla, like what you're doing is amazing. And I want to know how to do it that way. Can I come to your office and have coffee and pick your brain? Like my heart, like I just couldn't, you know what I mean? I don't know how to describe that, but the feeling I had was like, I'm building a community. That's what this is about. And it's about community over competition and helping other people. And I'll use Chelsea Pites as another example, but Chelsea and I do the same thing. So Chelsea is an Instagram for real estate expert. She's based out of Scottsdale, which is like a hot second for me here. She, doesn't sell products. So in that case, we're a little bit different. She doesn't have an online course and she doesn't have a coaching membership, but she is a teacher. She teaches all the time over Zoom right now because we can't teach in real life. But she also travels a lot and speaks on big national stages and does all the things that I want to do. And then I've already started doing. I've spoken nationally in 3 different places. And, my goal is, of course, to grow that. Yeah. But Chelsea has gotten on multiple Zoom calls with me and has tried to coach me through specific decisions with exclusivity and all these other problems. But she was just like my homie. Like, I don't know if that sounds bad, but like she was just somebody who saw herself in me and said, I'm going to help you get where you want to go and we're going to do it together. She sent me so much business and a bunch of leads for my membership and my coaching and all of that. And it's the least that I could do to give back to her the way that she's given to me. And I think that that's what, not just agents, but I think that that's what business owners need to realize is that goes a long way. And it makes a huge difference in the trajectory of your business. And I like to say, I've worked my booty off to get to where I am today, but I've definitely had a lot of really awesome people help me along the way. And, it takes a village. This is not like I'm going to do this all by myself and nobody's going to be able to take this from me. The other thing I say, and I know that you'll agree, is like, okay, let them borrow our content or take our content, because can they teach it the way that we can teach it? No, probably not. So like, why are we worried about it? And I think the sooner we get away from that fear, I think the better. So Berman Media is just creating connection. That's all we're doing, is we're talking to the people that we need to talk to get to where we want to go. And we're not afraid to send the DMs to the people that we know could help us get there. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And building community, that's actually one of the questions in our podcast questionnaire that we put out. Usually we talk to real estate agents on this podcast, but one of the questions in the list is your realtor community. Who is that for you? Are you involved in any councils or boards or committees? And that usually takes up about 10 minutes of the conversation, whether that be, this is my community and this is how I work that into my business. And this is how it's a part of my routine or my life or all that good stuff. Or it's the other opposite. I don't have a community in the real estate space. Actually, one of my first podcasts was my friend Mobby, and she's a realtor here in Portland. And so, of course, my first podcast, I was like, you're my guinea pig and you got to be my first guest. And we talked about community, and it turned into a whole nother conversation because Portland's a little bit different. I was the Women's Council president, and in Portland, we're just different. I went to the national meeting and oh my gosh, there were so many women there. I couldn't believe it. And our membership, it always just it struggles a little bit. Portland, we just don't do like committees and councils and I don't know, people are like, I do what I want kind of thing. But seeing that on a national level and seeing how people, that is their community. And it's so important because they lift each other up. They go to each other for questions. Who better to understand you as a realtor and what you're going through than another real estate agent? So obviously, most people have a sounding board and things like that, but taking it a step further, exactly what you said, there's something for everyone. You can't have all the clients. Real estate, it used to be that I think they felt like everybody was in competition with each other. And sometimes you might be if somebody's interviewing a couple of agents, then you are. But at the same time, again, you can't have all the clients, all the listings. Narrowing that into the niche and the community, like it all ties together and everybody's business is a little bit different, but exactly what you're saying today is all of those things. You just have to weave it through and have a little bit of all of it. Like a community is really, really important. And I think, you hit the nail on the head with all that. And it's so funny that you talked about exactly what we talked to our yeah, I was like, I don't even really need to ask questions. We're just really, you're hitting all of those things that I really wanted people to hear about because we preach it all the time. They might get sick of us. I feel like that too with content. I'm like, oh my gosh, I say this all the time, but you never know who's listening. And sometimes maybe you need to hear it more than once. You need to hear it from different people in a different way or whatever. So who is your community besides, your clientele? And you talked a little bit about somebody that lives close, but like, is it the internet? Is it, like people online? Like who do you go to further kind of your development and being a better entrepreneur for yourself? Where do you go?
Yeah. So one big one, never met the guy ever, but I've read his book 4 or 5 times at least.
Yeah.
Is Brendan Burchard, the High Performance Habits book. I don't know if anybody's ever read that. I'm sure plenty of people have, but I listen to his podcast every single day when I walk. So usually when I'm teaching classes back to back like that, in the middle, I'll try to go take like a 15-20 minute walk and I'll listen to an episode. And for me, even though I've never met Brendan, the way that he talks and the way that he addresses things, it's almost like he's in my brain. Things like, I don't want to take a break because I'm in the middle of a creative flow and I don't want to stop, right? Especially one of my goals, which is so tangible and I just feel like I could reach out and touch it. But my undergrad degree is actually in journalism and psychology. So my dream has always been to write a book, and I never felt like I had the legs to stand on, if that makes sense, really.
Yep.
I always knew, and when people would ask me, why do you want to write a book? I would always say, I feel like I just have something to say. And I never really had a clear vision of that until about the last 6 months when I was listening to an episode by Brendan, and I thought to myself, I'm like, I basically am on a book tour when I do podcasts all over the place. And the information that I teach and the way that I teach it is so psychology driven. So for me, it's about connecting in a way that helps people feel like Instagram as a whole, yes, well, that's the medium. It has to be seen as a creative outlet. So when I look at Brendan and I listen to him and I hear him speak on stages and I see him do things, I think all he's doing is helping people embody the way that they want to be seen. So for me, I would honestly say that he doesn't know it. Again, never met me. I've never met him, but he's the guy. And my assistant, Sarah, one of the things that I tell her is, did you listen to the episode today? You need to go listen to it. She is such a workhorse that she won't even take a break. She won't even get up for 10 minutes and she'll work until 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, girl, you need to stop. Like, you need to go have a life. And if somebody's going to be mad at us for not emailing them back at 9 o'clock at night, they can get over it. Brendan being one, of course, Chelsea Pites, I think, is probably the second big one, I would say. But as far as community outside of that, for me, I've really, really tried to network as much as I can with brokerages. So I get out and I try to go and be a part of other like loan officers and their offices and their, community there, and helping LOs all across the country build their realtor base. So that's one big thing that I really like to do. And then as far as brokerages, we actually reach out typically to the branch manager or the main associate broker, and we'll try to build camaraderie there. So we actually do a lot of in-house stuff for big brokerages that have, 20, 30, 40, 50 agents. And I try to come into them and drop in, and try to add value to the team as a whole. So that. And then as far as outside of that, I have a girlfriend on Instagram. She's also a course creator. She's also someone who's worked really hard on building what we call our evergreen funnels, but she's worked really hard on it. And she'll voice message me on Instagram, like probably every couple of days. Michelle, I hit this goal, or Michelle, oh my God, I suck. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And it's kind of an accountability thing. Never met her in real life, but she lives in Minnesota. And she's somebody who I know that if I called her and I was like, I'm struggling so hard with this, like, what would you do? She'd answer every time.
Yeah. So 2 things. You need to write a book. Do it.
Plan is the plan. Any publishers listening, reach out if you want to work on that. But I have a couple of them.
I'll hook you up with a few people that I know that have also wrote some books and can probably give you some good advice. It's something on our to-do list too, but since it's top of mind for you. And then I also think you need to reach out to Brennan and see what you can do to collab. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, little does he know that he's like literally changed my entire life. I read that high performance book the first time, and my fiance was sitting in like the other room, and my fiance's in the process of becoming a tactical strength and conditioning coach for the military. So he's retired military and wants to go back to be a civilian trainer, basically. And I was reading my book, and he was sitting at the dining room table, and I would just like yell out loud, "Oh my God, babe, I do that." The things that Brendan was talking about in the book. And as I read further and further and further along, it was like, oh my gosh, like this guy's just speaking to my soul, and I don't even know if he knows it.
Right.
But slowly over time, it's become more and more apparent that if I could shake that guy's hand and tell him that he's just completely changed my life, I think that he would hopefully be excited.
You need to invite him on whether you do podcasts or if you do a Zoom meeting or do something, got to do something with him. I got to interview Mike Michalowicz, who wrote Profit First. He's got 6 or 7 books, and his latest one is Fix This Next. And profit was always a struggle for me, just growing up, and money and what I thought about it. And I always just thought I just needed enough to live, and I didn't need to make any more than that. And that's exactly what I was doing. And so I did money work last year, and his was one of the first books that I read, and it totally made sense. I read it with Jen Sincero, You're a Badass at Making Money.
Yes, I have it. It's literally on my shelf back there.
Yes. So reading the 2 together was super helpful because he's more structured in how you need to do your business to make it work. Obviously, everybody's a little bit different in their business. And she was more on the psychological. They both just had different takes on it. So it was really cool to kind of listen to them together. I was audiobooking them. So he had his new book coming out, and I think he must have put an email out or something just saying, hey, if you want to have him on your podcast, or if you want to, whatever, because they were promoting his book. And I emailed back and was like, yeah, I want him on my podcast. And they responded back, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I had him on, and I said this in the podcast. I was like, I'm going to be really selfish today, and I want to ask you questions about my own business because I have an expert in front of me, and I want to know what I can do to better my business. So I was pretty starstruck with that. And I didn't think that would ever happen. So it was really cool. So you need to reach out. You never know. Girl, you already said it. Risk taker.
Yeah. You know what? I've never been afraid of it. But I think for me, the biggest thing is how much do I have to pay to have him show up on Zoom? Because
$0.
But yeah, no, I know. I'm laughingly saying that. But the whole concept for me for the book writing, and your friend, I think, would probably be a great connection. But that's kind of my fear, right? It's the same thing as anything. And it's the same thing that probably every realtor deals with when they're dealing with their own marketing, or how do you get started? How do you do this? How do you do that? I think it's the same concept, but for me, it's just been in my soul for so long, knowing that I have something to say and really not having a vision of how to get that out until recently. And it's one of those things that's how do I start? But when
a realtor trying to start Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, and I think just talking about it and even posting on there and saying, looking for a publisher who's ready to go with me, let's do it. I like to think that I'm a really good public speaker, so I don't think that I'd be worried about, that side of it. But I just want to help people. I just want to wake up every day and I want to make other people's lives better. And, growing my business is one of those things that it's never been easy, but it's also never been hard, right? It's kind of in the middle. And you have those days where you feel like you're climbing a mountain and you can't get to the next step, and you kind of fall back a little bit, but then you realize how far have I come up this mountain in just a very short amount of time? It's pretty mind blowing, really. I'm just excited about what the future holds, and I'm excited about being a part of, a lot of other people's lives. And to be, like you were saying, you were a little starstruck to have him on. Like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, you're coming full circle where you're like, oh my gosh, I thought of all things real estate as this like unattainable, like, whoa, like way up at the top of Mount Everest. And now I'm just sitting here talking to you like you're my girlfriend, and it just feels so natural and easy. And that's the thing, right? Is you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know unless you try. And I think that that's the best piece of advice that I could give somebody, whether you're a brand new real estate agent, whether you're not in real estate at all, whether got a 6-figure, doing multi-million dollars worth of real estate sales a year, or whether you just working on your first transaction. You don't know until you know, and you don't know unless you try. And I'll tell you what, Instagram is a damn good place to start.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you to give a piece of advice before we left, and you just did that. So, and now we are friends, and now we're both growing our community by having each other, because I'm sure we'll be in each other's DMs and asking questions and doing other collabs. And that's the other thing too, is like these types of connections and relationships don't just have to end wherever it is that you guys decided, we're doing this podcast, but that doesn't mean we can't do a blog post next week, or in a month have you, do a guest post or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to end. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things. Is it's the same with realtors. When you close on a house, you better not just close and never talk to them again. Like, you have to stay in touch. And I think it's the same in your business and building, these connections and relationships. You have to continue them. And even if it's not right away, keeping track of all these people that we can go to when we want to reach out for content, and not just reaching out in an Instagram story, but actually going back to the people that we've worked with and said, okay, we need content for this or that. So I think that's one of the things that I learned today that I need to do, and go back in my business and figure that out and get that organized a little bit better, so that we can keep those, because there's so many great people that are in real estate, and we just, I don't know, it's that connection in that community. So
I think we need to have like an all things real estate conference where we can just all come and
girl, I wanted to do that so long ago. I was like, I'm going to have my own conference and like have all these people there. And I feel like I still want to do that, but I think it's morphed into something different. And I love that idea. It might have to be virtual, but that's all right.
Ain't nothing wrong with that for now, I will say.
Right, exactly.
We have to be virtual for a little while longer. I don't think any of us are going to die. I think we'll be okay with more Zoom meetings. So
I think we just learned another tool and another trick of the trade that we're just going to have, that'll carry into our business, however that works. So
it's so funny though, because Inman obviously is a large conference. Everybody knows about Inman. And speaking of failure, right? I reached out to them and I submitted to be a speaker there, and was really confident I was going to get it, and they turned me down. And that's okay. Again, I'm totally fine with that, because I'm not going to not try. I'm not going to try again. Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, try again.
They posted something on Instagram not long ago that said that it's so ironic that in today's day and age, we're talking about, oh my gosh, Zoom is, skyrocketed with their number of users, and Instagram's way up, and Netflix streams or whatever are way up, and all this stuff is way up. But like, guys, this stuff's been around forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it was like a magical unicorn. Oh my God, Zoom is brand new today. Like,
right.
No, it's been around. Yeah. So I think it'll be really interesting moving forward to see how people implement it further. For example, I don't want to have to travel all the time. We're in the process of, after we get married, trying to have kids. And for me to travel all the time to do in-person teaching isn't going to happen. But I have a virtual series in Oregon, actually, with the first American home warranty rep that reached out on Instagram.
Yeah.
And said, hey, I heard about your series in Arizona with another first American home warranty rep, and I want to host one in Oregon. Would you be willing to do it? And I'm like, well, of course I would. Like, and how are people going to move forward using the tools? I think it'll be really interesting to see how people do a better job at implementing stuff that's been around forever.
Yeah. And realtors are definitely like, they stick with what's in their wheelhouse. And when something new comes along, they're like, one more thing I got to do. But it was funny because I feel like, Google's always top of everything. And I don't know if your Gmail updated, but now they updated so that the Google video and Hangouts or whatever are on the left column bar. And we use our chat all the time within the store and all the staff. especially now being virtual, we use it when we're like an office away from each other, but we can't get it off. It's like moving our chat to the bottom, but it's so funny that Google's like, oh, hey, we've had Google Hangouts forever. You guys need to use it more. So they just integrated it right into your Gmail. And I'm like, they're just mad at Zoom for.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
For being the number one video thing right now. But Michelle, I'm so happy that you reached out and that we got to have you on. I hope that, people actually take this stuff back and do it, because we can all listen and be like, oh, that's great advice. But you guys go do it. Like, that's the whole point. And try one thing. You don't have to do all the things. Just try one thing at a time and watch it, morph and work on it and get really good at it. And then you can see the success and then move on to the next thing you want to do. Will you tell us where we can find you and your Instagram and all that good stuff?
So my Instagram handle is Berman Media Social. So Berman is Berman Media Social, just like social media, but without the media part. And then my website URL is actually just the link in my bio. Tap on that. And then I have a brand new masterclass coming out. So the link in my bio will take you guys to that free 1 hour masterclass. So that's probably the fastest, the easiest way. You're welcome to email me. So my email is just Michelle@BermanMedia, PD, P as in Paul, D as in dog.com. Yeah. So I do Facebook. Obviously I have a Facebook account and a Facebook group, but I'm an Instagram girl. So if you need me, Instagram is where it's at.
And we'll slide into your DM.
Yes. Slide into my DMs. Just don't be creepy. I'm getting married. So just saying.
Exactly. All right, Michelle, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Yeah, this was awesome. See ya.
Bye.